Good morning, everyone. Here we are in Mishna Meiser Sheni, Perek Dalid, Chapter 4, Mishnah Beis, Mishnah 2. Paidin Meiser Sheni Kasharazal. When one redeems Meiser Sheni, which means when they take the produce of Meiser Sheni and transfer the sanctity from it onto money, we redeem according to the less expensive rate. What does that mean? The amount that the storekeeper buys, and not the way he sells. When a storekeeper buys fruit and he buys wholesale, he's buying it at a lower rate than what he sells it. So when you now want to figure out what is the value of your Meiser Sheni produce, to figure out how much money you have to redeem it onto, we say that you will look at the going price for this produce. But there's the wholesale price and there's the retail price. And the Mishnah says that you can follow the amount that the storekeeper pays for the fruit for him to sell it than when he actually sells it. You pay the wholesale price and not the retail price. But again, that means when you're evaluating the produce, you evaluate it by the wholesale price. That's the price that the storekeeper buys for, and you don't have to do it. That's going to be that means you'll need less amount of money to redeem the produce than if you were following the price of how much he sells it for, the retail price, which would then mean that you would need more money in order to redeem it. And then the Mishnah can now. So that's what the Mishnah is telling us when you're figuring out the value of your produce to redeem it onto money. Which value do you work with? The answer is you can go with the cheaper rate. How about if we're talking about you're exchanging money? Meaning you will be, let's say, taking smaller coins to redeem the produce onto, and then you want to transfer that smaller coins into bigger coins to carry it up to Yerushalayim. So there's a going rate there too. When you're now going to figure out, if you want to figure out what is it, now let me just go back for a second. In the first case, you weren't going to the storekeeper and buying anything from him. You're just finding out the rate. You have the produce, you have the money, you want to figure out what's the rate. Now again, in the second case, you have the smaller coins and the larger coin. You have to figure out what's the rate. What's the rate of exchange? So here the Mishnah says, when it comes to exchanging the money, you follow the amount that the money changer uses for when he is taking change. Taking change means when he's taking a smaller number of coins and giving a larger one in exchange. When you're giving him the smaller coins and he's giving you back the larger amount, and not according to the amount when he actually is combining, which means that he is giving a number of small coins in exchange for a larger coin. So what that means is like this. That means that if you go over to a money changer and you want to, let me read it to you. A person may exchange his Meiser Sheni coins at the rate that the money changer uses when he takes change. That is, when he takes a number of small coins and gives a larger one in exchange. Meaning, when he takes smaller coins and he gives back a larger coin, in that situation, he's actually going to be using a higher exchange than and not at the rate that the money changer uses when he combines coins. That is, when he gives a number of small coins in exchange for a larger one. For example, a money changer might charge 25 mo'os for a selah. 24 mo'os, these are copper coins, equals 1 silver selah. Now, so that's the rate. However, when you're dealing with a money changer might charge 25 mo'os, smaller silver coins. I'm sorry, It's silver coins. 25 smaller silver coins for a selah. When he gives mois in exchange for a selah, he will give only 24 mois for one selah. So again, if the case is that you have smaller coins that you want to now turn into a larger coin. So you go to the money changer, you give him the smaller coins, he gives you the bigger coin. Okay. You could also give him a bigger coin in order to get smaller coins from him. Now, when you go over to him and you want to get smaller coins from him, so you're going to give him a larger coin, the selah, and he's going to give you back. What's he going to give you back? The answer is he's going to give you back 24 smaller silver coins. A selah is the larger silver coin. A ma'ah is the smaller silver coin. So the rate of exchange of a selah to a ma'ah is 24 ma'ah equal 24 ma'ahs equal one selah. So when you go to him and you give him a selah, he gathers together the ma'is. What does he do? And he gives you 24. That's what he does. Okay. Now, but let's say you want to, let's say you want to, one second, I'm sorry. Let's say you want to get smaller coins from him. So you're giving him a selah. No, I'm sorry. Right. If he's giving a number of small coins, right, for money changer, right. If you want to get a larger coin you want to get a selah out of the money changer, so he might, even though if you were to give him a selah and you wanted to get money from him, he would give you 24 mois. In the case where you're giving him smaller coins for a bigger coin, he is going to charge you, okay? He's going to go ahead and ask for 25 as a charge for his service. So again, for example, a money changer might charge 25 mois for a selah, but when he gives mois in exchange for a selah, he will give only 24 mois, okay? So that means, as I explain here on the bottom, he charges an extra coin for the fee. If you're not going to give him the 25 selahs, right? You're giving him the smaller money for the larger coin. He's going to charge you a fee for doing that. And therefore, at the end, he's going to take 25 mois for the selah. But in a situation where he is actually going to give mois in exchange for a selah, in that situation, he'll charge the true value of 24 mois per selah. That's the way it could work. When he's giving you back smaller coins for the larger coin, he'll go according to the true rate, 24 mois per selah. But in a situation where though he is giving you, where he's going to give you a selah for small coins, then he may charge a fee, and he's going to charge you 25. So it could come out that a selah could be, depending on what the case is, depending on what the situation is, you could have a selah for 25 mois, you could have a selah for 24 mois. The Mishna is saying that when you want to go ahead now and exchange your smaller coins for a larger coin, you can work with the better rate. You can work with the rate of how much the shulchani charges when he takes prutas from you for the selah, which is 25, and not when he takes a selah from you and gives you prutas and he gives you 24. Clearly, if you can put 25 mois to a selah, that's better for you because it's less sloyim per amounts of smaller coins. Okay, so that's the first part of the Mishnah. That the point is that when you go ahead and you redeem either the produce onto the money, or you're exchanging their smaller coins, or you're changing the smaller coins to the bigger coins, you can follow the cheaper rate, meaning the benefit to you. You cannot redeem Meiser Sheni by estimate. That means when you go ahead and you have a certain amount of produce. So you can't just go over, if you want to figure out how much it's worth, you can't just go over to a storekeeper and say, what would you take for this pile? You can't do it that way. It's got to be exact. You got to measure what you have, find out the price, per measurement, and that's what you work with. The same thing with the money. Money also, it could be either because of the rate of silver, or because depending, there too, you can have a bunch of coins and you could just say, well, it's probably around this amount of coins for a selah. No, you have to figure out, you have to count your coins, then you have to go in and make an exact exchange of how the exchange would made for the smaller coins, for the bigger coins. There's no estimating. So therefore, if there's no estimating and you want to find out what the value of something is, so we say like this, Es Shadamav Yeduin. In a situation where the money is known, meaning the value of what we're talking about is known, you then redeem it based on one witness. One witness doesn't hear me, no witness. It means you can go, if something is known, and you don't know what the prices are, but it's something that people know that the prices are. There's a set price. So you go over to a storekeeper, the one who knows, the expert, so to speak, who knows the price, the prices. You go over to him, you find out what it is, you work with that. You're not necessarily going to him. You're not necessarily buying from him. You're just finding out from him what the going rate is. The she'ein dam of Yeduin, but let's say a situation where that which you're trying to redeem or exchange, the value is not well known. Then you need to redeem based on what three witnesses or three experts, meaning three people who know the going price, would tell you for this. What are examples of something that you don't know that we say that the value of these things aren't well known? If we're talking about wine that begins to sour, uperisher kivu, or fruits that have begun to rot, or coins that begin to corrode. When we spoke about the fact that your copper coins can corrode. So, you go to anybody and find out what these things are worth. They don't have a set value because you have to look at what the situation is, how bad have they gone, and then figure it. Then you can say what the price is. So being that is not so well known, that's not established. So then you need three experts to tell you, to agree basically, what's the price here. So if we're talking about regular fruit, how much these fruits go for? You go to one storekeeper, you go to one expert. One person can tell you what the going rate is. The things that don't have an established rate, because it depends on how bad they are, you'll have to bring those things to three people who would know how to evaluate it. And when the three people agree on a price, then that is the price that you're going to work with when it comes to your redemption. Just getting back to a second before what we spoke about when you're exchanging the money, so as we said, that when the money changer gives you, when he's taking the small coins, he's going to take more coins than when he gives you back small coins. And therefore, we say that when you're redeeming, you can work with the better rate. You can work with the rate of when he is taking from you the smaller coins. When he takes more, you can work with that to figure out how to make the exchange between the smaller coins and the larger coin. Now, when you come to Yerushalayim with that, and the reason you're changing it from smaller coins to larger coins is because larger coins are easier to carry up. But when you come to Yerushalayim and you spend that money on food, you don't want to use large coins. You buy food and drink with smaller coins, which means you're going to go and change it again. Now, when you change it, originally you may have used the rate of 25 smaller coins for a selah, right? Now you're going to go to the storekeeper, you're going to give him a selah. How many smaller coins is he going to give you back? 24, because he doesn't give you, he's going to give you the actual value. He's not going to give you that higher rate, which was for a different kind of case. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that at the end it comes out that when you go to the money changer and you give him the selah that you exchanged 25 coins for, the fact that now he's only going to give you back 24. That's the way it is. When you're going to the money changer, you work with what the money changer works with. It's just that when you're doing it on your own, that's when you can work with the better rate of the more coins, which is actually not the case when you're giving him the larger coin for the smaller coins, it's when he is taking from you the smaller coins and giving you the larger coin. We're in the Chafetz Chaim, Laws of Lashon Harah, Klal Hey, Chapter 5, Paragraph Beis. Vinei ad ko yitzanu minyonei dibur ha'isur harbe dvarim shemishtanim l'pamim b'dina l'fiya inyan. Until now, we have been talking about forbidden forms of speech, which can actually change. You know, the situations, there can be times where it's going to be forbidden, times it's going to be permissible. With the coming now, with the outcoming paragraphs, the davar b'chelek hagadol shebachalaka b'pnei she'ein shum tzad zchus ala mesaper kinenu mechavein l'shum to'eles rak l'sibur b'gnes chaverei. We're going to talk about now a part where typically you're not going to find too much license to be able to speak about these kinds of things. These kinds of examples of Lashon Harah, the Chafetz Chaim says about to speak about, are ones that you will typically not find a constructive purpose for doing them. And typically the person who is speaking this kind of Lashon Harah has no intention for helping someone. This is something people, unfortunately, it's a very common thing that people do because they don't realize how wrong it is. So therefore, the Chafetz Chaim asks permission, so to speak, or he asks of us not to wonder why is he going into so much detail. Because perhaps by being so detailed and specific and making it so clear to people, that'll be a merit that Hashem will actually help us to take away some of this stumbling that people do. So the Chafetz Chaim says, and now I'm ready to say, it is forbidden to put down a person because of his lack of virtues. Until now we're talking about, did he do something wrong between man and God? Did he do something wrong between man and his fellow Jew? We touched on it. There's going to be much more to talk about, but he touched on it and he mentioned it. He began the discussion about it. But now the discussion is not about somebody did anything wrong. It's just that he's lacking things. He's lacking certain virtues. Hein b'chachma, whether it be in wisdom. Hein b'gvur, whether it be in strength. Hein b'oisha, whether it be in wealth. V'chokei gavna, and anything similar where we're not talking about that he did anything wrong. It's just that he's lacking something. But first, now he says, I will explain my words in all their detail. Hein b'chachma. Let's now first talk about a situation where you are putting down a person regarding his chachma, regarding his wisdom, his intellectual abilities, how much he knows. You tell people that person is not really that. He's not that smart, not that bright. Now again, I think there's different ways of how you can talk about a person's shortcomings in wisdom. You can either say he doesn't know, he's not well versed in something, or you could say he's not that bright. Of course, if you're saying something that's not true or only partially true, and you blow it up more than it is, this is a very grave sin. This is worse than your typical Lashon Harah speaking bad. Rather, now you get the title of a Maisi Shemra, which means spreading a lie. Because now you're putting down your friend with falsehoods. But even if it's the absolute truth what you're saying, no, you're saying it as it is. This is something already, the early commentators have already established that Lashon Harah is even for saying something true. The davar zeh dahainu masher shayla mimenu hamaylos bevadei gam kemuchal Lashon Harahu. And now he says, this whole idea of speaking about a lack of a person's virtues is definitely included in Lashon Harah. Meaning, maybe you'll say Lashon Harah is only about doing something wrong, not about lacking something. Not true. The Loikasav Aram Parak Aleph the Avis. The Rambam writes in the first chapter of Avis, of Tractate Avis, V'zeh Lashon Eisham. Lashon Harah hu sipa ra'os ha'adam. Meaning the Rambam here in his commentary to Avis defines Lashon Harah. And that is sipa ra'os ha'adam, telling over the negative parts of a person, ra'os ha'adam, or rather the bad things of a person, umumav, or his blemishes, and to deride him and to put him down in any way, shiminagnus, that is considered putting someone down. In any way that a person would be degraded for it. And even if it's true that he's lacking it. And then he stops the quote and he says, as he continues to write there, Lashon Harah is even for the truth. So from the writing of the Lashon Harah, of the Rambam in his commentary to Mishna, and the way he defines Lashon Harah, he says clearly, it's about things that he's done wrong. It's about blemishes. It's about anything that would be degrading to a person. And also the Rambam, Maimonides, writes in his Code of Laws, in the seventh chapter of Hilchas Deis, of the laws of perspectives. Lashon Harah is defined as something that would cause that if this piece of information would be known to people, to damage the person spoken about, begufai, physically, monetarily, or cause him to have distress, to frighten him. Okay, this is how the Rambam, Maimonides, defines Lashon Harah. Anything that, if known to people, could cause any kind of physical, monetary, or emotional damage. If so, says the Chavetz Chaim, when one talks about the lack of virtues, Lashon Harah Gemura hu min HaTorah, there's no question. That's absolute Lashon Harah according to Torah law. Because if you think about, when you talk about a person and you talk about his lack of wisdom, there is no question it can fall under any of these things of causing him some kind of damage. Let's first talk about okay, actually meant the talking about the lack of virtues definitely can fall under any one of those categories. Let's first elaborate on what we're dealing with. When you say about him, he's not so wise. There is no greater lacking than that. Let's say he's not married yet. If people get to hear that he's not so bright, he's not so smart, who's going to marry him? And if, let's say, he's a person who has a business, whatever business he may have, whether it be a craft, or he's a teacher, no one's going to want to engage him in what he does because he's not that bright, he's not that smart. Which again, it means he's saying he's not that smart or he doesn't know the craft or the craft that he does well. All the more so, this person is a rabbi, a person who is supposed to be leading and guiding people in how to live their lives halachically. And you tell people that he's not so wise, he doesn't know that much. Besides the fact that you for sure have transgressed Lashon Harah when you say that about a rabbi, to say that he really doesn't know that much. Because now if people accept that, and it gets around in the city, he's going to lose out financially. Why is that? Because one of the functions in some in communities of old, nowadays, if a person has some of these things, they won't typically go to a local rabbi; they'll go to rabbinical court. But not with years ago, one of the jobs of a rabbi was that if two people had some kind of a dispute, they would go to the rabbi to settle the dispute based on halach, based on Jewish law, or compromise, which also has its guidelines in Jewish law. And being that you're going to the rabbi for that service, you would give him something for it. But now, if no one wants to go there to do that because they hear that he's not so smart, he doesn't know his stuff, he's not going to go to him. So that piece of information caused him to lose some of his livelihood. We got and even more can come out. If now he's been put down in the eyes of the members of his community, he's going to lose his job. And the blood, the damage that comes to him and to his family from this is now hanging on the head of this person who spread that information. By the Lashon Harah you spoke about, you took away his livelihood. Another problem is when you talk about a person who is considered a rabbi, considered a Torah scholar, and you put him down, and you say, no, he's not that, doesn't really know that much, then basically you have now lowered the honor of Torah those who study it. Because basically people look at a person who, look, he studied Torah, and he doesn't know that much, all right? So people will make conclusions based on what you say, and say that people who study Torah, even for long times to be accomplished scholars, they really don't know that much. This now, for doing that, you're called a person who degrades a Torah scholar. Shamar Razal, our sages say regarding that, there's no healing for that wound. Meaning for that damage you've done, meaning it's the damage you've done to yourself, there's no healing for it. This can also cause the weakening of the fulfillment of Torah. Because now if the rabbi now tells them that they may not do something based on Torah law, I'm not going to listen to it. Because based on this person who spoke Lashon Harah and said about this rabbi, there's no that much, and that has become the public knowledge, why should they listen to him? So basically, what he's saying is that when you speak about someone who is meant to be a scholar of Torah, and you say about him that he's not that wise, there's tremendous damage that can come from it, personally to the person, and to the effects that come out from the fact that you have put this person down, the fact that now people will not accept what he says and learn Torah from him and take guidance from him. So therefore, the saying about someone that they're not wise, whether it be a Torah scholar or even other people, even though when you're not saying they did anything wrong, you're talking about lack of a virtue, that clearly falls under the parameters of Lashon Harah because it clearly has the potential to cause damage to a person. Have a wonderful day.